Are you a vibey therapist?
Highly go.
Get cozy.
An absolute brilliant mind. Yeah, that was scary.
Monique, she's flossing, but let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, what are we doing? That's how we'll know we've made it. Yeah.
Should we do the thing?
Sit here and look pretty.
You good?
Okay, that's gonna be good.
Okay, here for it. Hey, thanks for sharing the couch with us. I'm Emily.
And I'm Monique.
And today we're going to tell you what exactly we're doing here for this podcast. So, Sharing the Couch is a podcast that came out of the ideas from our team. We are a group practice located in Texas called The Couch Therapy. And literally in this podcast, we're going to share the couch with you. At The Couch Therapy, we believe that everyone is welcome. And for Sharing the Couch, our idea is to host a space for conversations into the therapeutic kind of world of therapists, how we conceptualize cases, how we handle being a therapist in our own personal and professional lives. Pretty much anything that falls under the umbrella of life as a therapist, you're going to see here. We value real, raw, authentic conversations, just like our team. And this podcast is for anyone who's interested in what it's like to be a therapist, anyone who's considered going to therapy, anyone who is a therapist and is looking for some community, conversations, connection. We really don't believe in practicing in a silo or doing things alone. And that's why we're a group practice. And that's why we're here today for this podcast. So thanks for joining in. Monique, let's talk a little bit about the couch as a practice and kind of the vibe of who some of our conversations will come from on the podcast.
Okay. Well, let's just start with the couch first.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about our team and who's going to be sharing.
Cool.
Well, we can start with you and I used to work together prior to starting the couch.
We had a prior podcast life together, actually.
Did.
Yeah.
Only one.
One
episode. One and done.
I don't know what that says about what's about to happen here.
But we decided in officially 2019 to start our own private practice with just the two of us to test the waters and see if we liked it and see if we could kind of expand into the DFW area and share our knowledge and our clinical skills and start seeing clients.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened.
Yeah, we started our lease like March 15th, 2020.
Yes.
The world shut down that day. Like we had a mask dropping off a check for an office.
Yeah. We were planning to see everybody in person in a ginormous building in an office suite, and that quickly changed.
We've made worse business decisions since, but we'll talk to you about those too on the podcast.
So that happened March 2020, and then by probably the fall of 2020, we had completely shifted to virtual practice and became full-time. We quit our other jobs and we just jumped right in. And we've been doing this thing ever since.
We started a crappy website that we would work on at 2 a.m. and crappy branding from, some crappy download and built a pretty cool practice.
Yeah. We acquired some helpful people to help us with our website and our branding and have improved since, but that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Just researching online, lots of scrolling and Facebook posts and group chats and figuring out how to start a business. So we'll share some of that through our podcast too, the business owner side of things and all the fun that comes with that. And really, part of this podcast started way back when too. It's always been on your bucket list.
Yeah.
I think probably year one that you came to me and said, I want to do a podcast. So here we are 5 years later, finally starting it.
Yeah. I think the cool thing is that initially it was I don't want to talk to you on a podcast all day long. We talk all day long anyways. And so what are we going to talk about it? And how does it make sense for there's a million podcasts. Why would someone even listen? And so over the years, it's kind of been and we have a really smart team, right? Yeah. So we're a group practice now. We have this brilliant team. So walk me through what that looks like integrating it.
So we've expanded. We have a wonderful team now. And I think as we started conceptualizing and staffing cases weekly, and having just get-togethers and learning from each other. We do presentations with each other. Just really all have this thirst for knowledge, which was really cool to come together. So when we started talking about a podcast and the potential of it, I think everybody was on board to say, I would love to be a part of that and share some fun facts, share our brains. And so I think throughout this podcast, we will have different segments and different episodes with a number of our staff. We'll have some guests, and we'll hear from some brilliant minds on our team. Everyone brings something different to the table, which is really cool. We all do therapy very differently, although we have the same foundation. So I think it will be helpful to hear from multiple different people and our perspectives, our views on therapy, on theories. We are not going to get into therapy. We are not going to talk about cases or specifics on anything that we do clinically, but we will kind of talk behind the scenes and share why we do what we do, share some of our knowledge. So it's going to be fun, and there will be something for everybody.
Yeah, like our team is built of experts in their own worlds, right? And it was kind of not, it was not on purpose. Like we were not that smart to be like, everyone needs to have their own niche or like gift or passion, but like that just kept happening of like these brilliant individuals with this like passion and like brain full of research. And so when we were kind of like thinking about this podcast, like give me the book analogy that our friend Katie told us. Like I love it so much.
Yes. So you will hear from Katie later on in this series. But the analogy came from her in that we all love to read. We're all giant nerds. And so the example is when you walk into a bookstore, you really can find something for everybody. There is a book for anybody, no matter what you're looking for. And our staff, our knowledge ranges from trauma to postpartum, perinatal, maternal health, sexual health, sports, like we've got it all. And so there is going to be a book for everyone. Throughout this podcast, we'll have a segment for anyone. It's for therapists, it's for clients, it's for the everyday person just wanting to hear about some fun topics and hear our therapist brains. And we really just want to bring this authentic, fun vibe. So eventually we'll get into listener questions and all of that fun stuff. So we're just here for the journey, and wherever that takes us, that's where we'll go.
Yeah. I love, getting to work in a practice with like the brilliant brains, and we meet every Friday and we talk about cases and we talk about our personal lives and like what it's like to be a therapist in the therapy world. We call it like self of the therapist. And it's just so sweet to actually have like a platform and a space to have these conversations. And like a library, everyone's welcome. And we hope that everyone can grab what they need. And we hope that people leave feeling resourced, connected, and knowing how to advocate for themselves in any way. And like you said, it's not a substitute for therapy.
Right.
It's just therapists kind of brain dumping and talking about the hot topics and talking about how they conceptualize cases. So I think it'll be a really sweet spot to do that.
Yeah. And I think our work, just like when we started out, why we started the couch was to expand and bring access to anybody and everybody. We really were intentional about that. We didn't want, finances to get in the way. We didn't want access to get in the way. So we've stayed virtual. We do also have in-person. So we've kind of just taken whatever comes our way. We'll try and meet the demand. But I think with the podcast, it allows us to expand outside of just our practice. We, have 2 offices, but we're pretty limited in how far out we can go. Our licenses are in the surrounding states. So this will allow us to really just expand and get the messages out there and educate others. And I'm excited.
Like on our website, it says like, you don't have to be broken to need therapy or want to understand your story deeper. So I think the message of that is that therapy for anyone can be helpful. Conversations like this for anyone can be helpful. If you want to know what it's like to be a therapist, it's helpful. If you want to know how to trust a therapist, it's helpful. So hopefully in modeling that, there can be accessibility to resources, and using like this podcast as kind of a vehicle for those resources is definitely our hope.
Let's go behind the scenes. This segment is where we give a peek behind the therapy room door.
Hey friends, thanks for joining us again on our segment called Therapists Behind the Scenes. And today we're going to talk about how do you prep before a session?
I love this question because I think it's so different for each therapist, and like virtual versus in person. There's so many things. So I think for me, like a clinical preparation is like looking at my day, which clients do I see, and then I write like a little bit of a note like about each one just for like my brain to like remember where we left off on, or like to check in on something. Especially if a session goes long, then I don't have time to do that before I log on, before I bring somebody back to the room. And so I want to have at least some indication of what my day is going to look like and what we might talk about. But I think there's also like a room prep that goes into it, right? Like, so I have some clients that like love a certain pillow, or they like the blanket because they sit on one side of the couch, or like maybe they have a favorite snack that they always look for, and I want to make sure that's in the basket. So I think there's some like preparation of like, I see you and I hear you, like I want to make sure you're comfortable in this space too. So prep I think can look clinical, but it also can look relational.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I even think about that too. Like you said, like relationally, like what is it about this space that this client's about to come in to that I can make them feel seen and safe, and this is their space. And like you said, maybe that's rearranging the furniture a little bit, or even, hey, we talked about this book and I had said that I was going to bring it for them if they wanted it, and so me being really intentional to remember those pieces, so they'd be like, oh, okay, like I was thought of in that. And then like you said, I think on like a therapist side, personal side for us, like just kind of getting into, I'm putting work away, or I'm putting my home away, and I'm going to get into my work mindset and really remember where I was last time with this client, kind of where we're starting off, and like what do I need to do for them, and what I am assuming maybe we'll talk about, and that can change too once they get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like those things that like, hey, if there's no direction, or like maybe they had an experience that we want to make sure I ask about, like how did that go? I just kind of remind myself like of reading past note. Okay, where are we at? Kind of just calibrating, because I want to make sure I'm intentional with all the sessions that we have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I think with that too, just like anyone going into like meetings, right? Like what else do I need for myself right before I get here? Are my needs met? Food, water, am I comfortable? Do I need to stretch out my body? Like what do I need to do for myself to best show up for this session I'm about to have to?
Oh, for sure. Especially if I'm at home or even in the office and I see virtual, like I have to have fuzzy socks because I normally sit cross-legged. And so it's like if I take my shoes off, I want my feet to be warm, so I always have to have my socks, and like different times of the year I have to have my heated blanket. Like even just like those little comfort items to help me be like as regulated and as grounded and comfortable as possible so that I can show up for whatever the client has.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's all, like you said, it's all about building relationships and knowing what the client's going to need and how you can be there and set that up for them best. And then also knowing our own needs too, and that trial and error or different seasons of life and what that looks like.
Yes, absolutely. That's so super cool behind the scenes I don't think people think about.
This segment is What's on Your Bookshelf, where we talk about what we are reading and how it applies in the therapy room.
What book did you bring to chat about today?
Okay, I brought this book, Burnout: The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. I read this like 2 years ago. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not a recent read, but the reason I brought it is because this is a book that I will go back to over and over and over with clients. Yeah.
I have not read it.
Really?
No.
You're kidding.
No.
Okay. No, you gotta read it. It's
Okay,
so
I do.
easy. It's so easy to read.
Okay. Is it Amanda Yowski? Okay.
Yeah, same author as Come As You Are, and her sister wrote this book. And so in a similar way, it is very like relational in the way it's written, like XYZ parentheses, we know it sucks, right? Like it's just so down to earth, so easy to read or listen to if like someone was not a reader. Yeah, that would also be good.
So great. Okay, well I might have to borrow that copy from you.
Yeah. Oh, you can.
When you talk about like burnout, the secret to unlocking the stress cycle, like is it very sciencey? Like are there parts that validate that?
There are parts that are sciencey, but it's not overly sciencey. It's not too heavy. on the science. It's extremely relatable. I think kind of like one of the like big takeaways is this idea that there's a difference between handling the stressor and handling the stress. So your boss calls you with an emergency, and I mean, you're a boss, you handle it, you put out the fires, but then you've handled the stressor, you're still left with the stress that puts on the body. Yeah. And so the idea is when we have that stress, we need to complete these stress cycles in order to release that stress. And if we're not doing that, that's where we get burnt out.
Got it. Okay. That's on my TBR now.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it.
It's so great. Yeah. Some really concrete takeaways of like, these are the most effective ways to complete the stress cycle. Here's some options. What would this look like?
Yeah.
And then kind of in the like latter portion of the book, it's directed more towards women, and it's kind of talking about this idea of like human beings versus human like givers. And it's kind of like human giver syndrome, and you just feel like you're always caring so much and doing so much. And how do we find like meaning in that? Because if we're always doing so much, like even if we're completing the stress cycle, we're going to get burned out.
Yeah, because you're just starting another cycle.
Yeah. And so that idea of like connecting to something bigger to help kind of combat some of that like burnout. Yeah. So it's beautiful, amazing book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can take it home today.
Yeah, we'll share it.
Now back to the pod.
Do you want to kind of bridge a little bit and talk to us about like what kind of all of our frameworks are? We all have different niches and different ways that we like treat our clients and care for our clients and resource for our clients. Like, tell me about the underlying agreement in our therapy system at the couch and like for this podcast.
Sure. So really when we started this, we come from an attachment background. That's kind of our bread and butter, our theory that we love. It's a little bit more psychodynamic with our clients, but the number one thing is relationship. And so that is what we practice with all of our clients. That's what we practice with each other, all of our staff, whenever we're networking with other partners. It really is about the relationship. And I think that is something that unfortunately you don't always find when you're looking at therapists and what's provided out there. We all have different beliefs on what type of therapy works, what's best, what's, proven through science, evidence, research, all of that. But our belief is the relationship is really the most important. And that brings in the felt safety into the room. It brings in attunement. It brings in you just show up as you are for both the client and the therapist, and the magic happens there. So yeah, that's kind of our foundation, even though we all have different specialties and different techniques, and we'll get into that later on in episodes, but our foundation is attachment relationship work. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, you nailed it. Like, yeah, I think it's the relationship that counts. It's what matters. And then how do we like build off of that relationship and do that deep work and heal those pieces that are hurting. And so like, that's it. That's the magic of it. And so hopefully this is like a relationship with our listeners and like can be a community that we can all grow together, have conversations together, and just broaden the conversation of mental health access and resources and talking about, it's okay, you're not okay. Yeah. So stoked to be able to do this with you and our team. I think it's going to be a really fun season, and we're really excited to have you watch and listen. So welcome to episode 1.
This was 1.
That's it.
Here we go.
All right. We're excited to have you a part of the journey. Thanks for sharing the couch with us today.
Just a reminder, this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. While we are licensed therapists, this is not a substitute for therapy, diagnosis, or individualized mental health care. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapeutic relationship. If you're needing support, we encourage you to connect with a licensed provider in your area. If you are in a crisis or believe you may harm yourself or others, please call 911 or contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 in the United States.